Hello and welcome to your Mining Disrupt news update for Friday, September 1st, 2023. As always, everything I say here should be taken for entertainment and education purposes only. Nothing I say should be heard as financial advice. Please do your own research. Also, if you're interested in partnering with us as a sponsor, please reach out. The news of the week is the Bitcoin price pump. It jumped over 5% over the past few days, and it's currently sitting at a little over $27,000. With that, let's get into the news before we break down what happened and what this might mean in the coming weeks and months as we head towards the halving. But first, make sure you check out the QR code down here so you can get your tickets to Mining Disrupt 2024 happening in Miami, Florida, June 24th through the 27th. And of course, like, subscribe, comment below so we can keep the conversation about Bitcoin going. All right, the numbers. As I was just talking about the price, we're looking at a price of $27,254 for a whole Bitcoin, or for $1, you will get yourself 3,669 sats. The on-chain fees are currently a little bit higher than we saw. Well, actually about double what we were seeing here recently. They are 17 for priority, 14 for anytime. The unconfirmed transaction sitting in the mempool is nearly 500,000, 488,000, quite high. That is a depth of 154 blocks. We've seen a slower block time coming in right now, 10 minutes and 33 seconds, which means that for the first time in recent memory, we are going to have a downward shift, a fairly significant one too, of 5.17. Before I break down that price news, I've got this little story here out of South Africa that I thought was amusing. This by way of Clean Technica. Elon Musk's old high school in South Africa gets 198 kilowatt solar funded through Bitcoin crowd sale on Sun Exchange. Sun Exchange, a global solar leasing platform, today announced that a crypto investor has used Bitcoin to fund a large solar project that will provide clean and affordable solar energy to Pretoria Boys School in South Africa. Thanks to one of the school's alumni who used the Sun Exchange platform to purchase 98% of all solar cells in the project. The individual will earn income for 20 years on the clean energy they generate, while the school gains solar power at zero capital cost. The project was still in pre-crowd sale open to Pretoria Boys High alumni and staff, and then one of the alumni, a crypto investor, decided to buy nearly the entire project. I found that one amusing, interesting that this boys' school down in South Africa is getting a solar project and it was funded by a Bitcoin investor. Thought that was kind of neat. Okay, over at Forbes, we've got Grayscale wins court battle against SEC. Regulator must review Bitcoin ETF application. A federal appeals court ruled on Tuesday that the Securities and Exchange Commission must review Grayscale's application to convert its Bitcoin trust into an ETF, exchange-traded fund, undermining the agency's long-standing opposition to the concept of listed spot market investments for the leading digital asset while allowing them for futures. This is a monumental step forward for American investors, the Bitcoin ecosystem, and all those who have been advocating for Bitcoin exposure through the added protections of the ETF wrapper, said Jennifer Rosenthal, a spokeswoman for Grayscale. The decision does not mean the SEC must approve Grayscale's application, only that it must review the application again. That's real important. This ruling does not say that this will absolutely lead to a Grayscale ETF, but it does mean that the SEC has to review this application again. But going into that a little bit deeper, I've got a tweet here from James Seifert. He says, "I've read through and digested a bit. This is a complete and utter rebuke of all the SEC's spot Bitcoin ETF denial orders. There is no wiggle room. Basically, all of the SEC's arguments are shot down here. But the decisions is going back to the SEC. What can the SEC do?" He says, "First option is that they just approve GBTC conversion and spot ETF applications like all of CT Hope's. Haha. But if the SEC wants to stop spot Bitcoin ETFs from listing, they have two options in my eyes. First, they would have to revoke the listing of Bitcoin futures ETFs. The order here from the DC Circuit basically said you can't argue about manipulation of markets while allowing Bitcoin futures ETFs. I still think this is quite unlikely. The second potential avenue is to deny on reasons not used before/yet, which I have been saying for months could have to do with custody or settlements of Bitcoin, which is not something that futures ETFs have to worry about. SEC has made a lot of noise around custodians. What I've picked up from browsing around Twitter, reading this, listening to some podcasts, jumping in some spaces, is that currently, as it stands, the SEC, as James Seyffart says right up there, doesn't have any wiggle room. But that's with the current rules. Think of it like this. If you've got a football game and the rules say that you can't pass the ball to somebody that's in the stands and then have them run down and make a touchdown, well, that's how the rules currently are. And if you're the SEC and you are the one that makes the rules largely, or you certainly have some sway in the rule-making arena, then you might come around and go, well, we now have some rules that say we can do that. So while the SEC might not currently have the wiggle room to do what they want to slow or stop Bitcoin ETFs, they might make some rules that allows them to do that. But all that might end up doing is delaying the inevitable, not stopping it. When there are large, and I'm talking Fidelity, BlackRock, Vanguard, etc., large institutional investors wanting to get in on this, wanting this to happen, why would they all have applied for ETFs if they didn't want it to happen? That doesn't make any sense. So if they want those things to happen, there's a really good chance there's enough momentum, enough money to make it happen one way or another. Sooner or later, it's happening. And on that very note, I've got this clip from CNBC. Take a listen.
The SEC could just kill the Bitcoin futures ETF altogether and admit they made a mistake. That is theoretically possible, but very unlikely, considering the SEC recently approved leveraged Bitcoin futures that are out there. So there is a real food fight going on at the SEC right now. There are hardliners there who say Bitcoin is baloney, and we have no control over it. We have no control over the exchanges. We need to stop it and fight it as long as possible. And then I'm sure there's realists who say, we got a lot on our plate coming up in the next few months. We have to figure out a way to allow this to happen, roll it out slowly. They'll probably approve all of them at once. So there's a fight going on here. My bet would be eventually, sometime in the fall, they approve them, all of them.
His comment right at the very end, his closing remark, is that he expects them to be approved, all of them, in one fell swoop. And that's something that I've been hearing for a while now. I'm not going to put my eggs in that basket. I'm not hoping one way or another where this goes. I don't really care one way or another where this goes. What I'm happy about, I've said this time and time again, and I'll keep on saying it, is that the conversation around Bitcoin is happening. It is in people's awareness. It is in the public consciousness. People are hearing Bitcoin. Bitcoin, Bitcoin futures, Bitcoin ETF, Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. That is what I am happy to see. More and more people hearing Bitcoin, making them think about it, making them question about it. There is so much demand for Bitcoin, and we're only seeing this from the lens of the US, but worldwide demand of Bitcoin is only going up. The question that you need to be asking yourself right now is, do I understand Bitcoin well enough for when the day comes that the entire world wants this thing? And I don't believe anyone on the planet right now can truly understand how drastically different the world will look on a Bitcoin standard. But there are people that have no idea what that world will look like. There are people that have no clue what money even is. So what you need to be asking yourself right now is, are you one of the people that has no idea? Or do you at least have some idea? I would suggest getting in the camp that has some idea of what this thing is, because there has never been something as transformative, as revolutionary as Bitcoin. It will change the entirety of the world. We will live in a place that is unrecognizable in the not so distant future. Whether that's 5, 10, 15, 50 years from now, I don't know. But on a human time scale, it is a very short time away. And with that food for thought, I hope you have a great weekend. Until next time.